Genesis, Foxtrot. Early 70s prog rock is like my jealous ex-lover that creeps up on me when I'm not paying attention. I've never been much of a fan of the version of Genesis that was fronted by Peter Gabriel. There are only a handful of their songs I would choose to listen to, and then only rarely. But I have an almost pathological loathing of the post-Gabriel band. But I am a sucker for those sidelong prog epics of the early 70s, and I have great respect for the way they were played and recorded, with a very limited number of instruments on analogue tape. There were no polyphonic synthesizers. It was all Hammond organ, Fender Rhodes piano, and maybe some ARP or Moog synths. I found much of Genesis's early work to be quirky and meandering, leading to disappointing climaxes. When CDs became cheap or available in the library, I listened to stuff I had not liked at the time, to see if my opinion had changed. If you listen to the Genesis live version of the musical box, you will see how disappointing the climax to the studio version on the Nursery Crime album is. That was the album prior to Foxtrot, which had cemented their status in the upper echelons of prog at the time. I went to a boys' grammar school. We were clever. We liked prog rock. Until the time came when it was clever not to like prog rock. Bands like early Genesis liked to use simple chord progressions, with each chord being given differing uneven numbers of beats. This allowed the tatty blazered schoolboys of my desert boot wearing and gas mask carrying adolescence to claim to understand and marvel at the complexity of the time signatures. Watchers of the Skies, the opening song on Foxtrot, is one of my handful of OK Genesis songs. It uses the time signature thing to good effect, starting the album with what sounds like a sort of sixth form project to reimagine Mars from Hulst's Planet Suite. But I probably was a sixth former when I first heard it. The song Supper's Ready is a 23-minute epic that was side 2 of the vinyl. The number of themes and ideas is not too overwhelming, so each one is given space to develop. I must admit, even on recent re-listening, I snobbishly scoffed at the amount of arpeggios, which I never would have done had it been a piece by Philip Glass. It moves through bucolic romantic balladry and knockabout musical nonsense a bit like the Teddy Bear's Picnic, telling the story of a pair of lovers on a pilgrim's progress, mysterious figures on a lawn, one carrying a cross, a farmer and a mad scientist, mythical figures and a battle for peace and its hideous aftermath, through musical passages that genuinely build the tension. But the main reason it succeeds is that the climax it builds up to is quite genuinely spine-tingling. The first time the climax theme appears as the guaranteed eternal Sanctuary Man, which whets your appetite for its grand reappearance, with a great fanfare of pomp and glory and tubular bells with Bunyan and Milton-esque apocalyptic lyricism, where souls ignite and angels stand in the sun, and the lovers, one of whom had called out Supper's Ready in the opening section, were now being called to partake of a supper at the highest of tables, with a King of Kings who leads the way to a new Jerusalem, like Revelations according to Genesis, coming at the end of an apocalypse in 9/8 time. I find it both totally ludicrous and immensely moving, like Dali's Crucifixion or Blake's Jerusalem. Please allow me to confess the sin of a guilty pleasure. The other songs are very much the other songs, though Genesis fans seem to also like Get 'Em Out by Friday. Foxtrot, Genesis.